Wow, it's like totally snowing out here. Hopefully I'll get enough in my yard. It's actually looking pretty good that I can take my fat bike out and show you guys a little bit about tire pressure. This looks like a really good depth. Let it snow a little more and see what I can do. Windy again. Love this trail. Woo. Might have to overshoot some of these this time.
Here we go, Chad.
Oh yes. Can't believe I just did that. Okay, I think we got enough snow for me to demonstrate this. I'm gonna try to talk about tire pressure here. Right now I have about 15 psi is what I recall putting in here last, because I was riding on the road doing bike patrol and not in the snow. So 15 psi is way too much for the snow. I don't know if this is going to be deep enough for me to kind of slip and slide, but I'll ride in this on my yard. No tracks in it yet, so I'll ride around, show kind of how I slip and slide around, and then I'll drop the pressure down and just kind of keep doing that and show you how going extremely low on pressure really helps in getting good traction in the snow. Okay, I'm a little off camera here for a reason. I'm gonna start here on the little walkway and then go into the yard and create just kind of an initial loop with 15 psi and see how it goes. So when it gets down to this hill part, and then I have to climb back out. Yep, okay, so this is definitely too high a pressure. Hopefully I'm not too far out of range for the mic. Okay, so it seemed okay when I was here on the level part, but then as I got over in the further parts of my yard, it kind of dips down towards the road. And then I tried turning around and coming back, and that's when I really noticed my steering was all over the place, my back wheel was sliding out, things like that. I did manage to make it. This is kind of sticky snow, so it's got a lot of traction, but I'm gonna drop the pressure some and then do that again, and we'll see the difference. So the nice thing about this Topeak Joe blow pump, which is specifically made for fat bikes, it has a little button here, and I can push the button and look at my pressure. And I'm gonna drop it down to about 8 psi on both front and rear, and then we'll see how that works out. So here we are at 8 psi, and it's still a pretty firm tire. Like, to me, this is still too stiff. So we'll go ahead and give it a run. It'll be a little bit better, but it won't be perfect. I'm gonna ride not in my original track because I want to show going in fresh powder here. Although I have to go on my track around the bush. We'll go wider. I can definitely tell I have more traction, but it's still not ideal. But it is a lot better dropping down to 8 psi. Okay, now I went down to 5 psi. These are pretty squishy. So This is generally what I ride with. Sometimes I'll even go down to 4 if it's really powdery. But 5 psi is kind of my go-to pressure. Now let's go see how it handles. So 5 psi seems a little ridiculously low, but it's actually perfect when you're in the snow. Oh yeah, huge difference. Like, yep, tons of traction. So the tires flatten out a little bit when I'm on the snow, and by squishing out, they just give you tons of traction. That's awesome. So yeah, I mean, this snow, I would say this is about 4 inches deep. This is kind of getting borderline to what you can ride in as far as fresh tracks go. But it's pretty perfect right now. So about 4 inches, I would say you start getting to 6 inches deep, you can certainly ride. You'd probably drop your PSI even lower, probably 4. I know I've heard of people dropping to 3, but then you're going for traction through pretty deep snow, and it's a lot of work. So what we do a lot is we go out and snowshoe the trails, at least our local trails, Theodore Wirth, because they don't allow motorized equipment in there. Some trails actually do grooming with, I don't know, snowmobiles and other equipment. But once a trail is groomed, it's much easier to ride in, or once it's at least partially packed. And once you do a couple rounds with snowshoes, or you can do one round and you get a big enough group of people, then you can start fat biking on it right after it's snowshoes. So when we have the big snowfalls, that's what we do. We usually try to get a group out to snowshoe and get the trail at least packed enough to where riding our bikes on it isn't just so much work, because when it gets really deep, it's a lot of work. So big tires, I think a lot of people who haven't ridden fat bikes before, they think, oh, I can ride in big, deep powder snow. No, that's not really the case. I mean, you can maybe if you're like going downhill and you're just kind of drifting around, but no, you definitely need a packed or semi-packed trail, or, you know, snow that's only about this deep, or maybe another inch or 2. But that's all I really wanted to show you. Tire pressure is the most important thing with fat biking. I see a lot of people running too much pressure, and they think that 5 psi or having their tire be really squishy like this is a bad thing, but actually that's what you want. You want to be able to push down on the tire and like sometimes almost get to the rim. You certainly don't want to be able to push it down to the rim, and your weight does matter too. Like I'm, you know, under 200 pounds, probably right around 190 right now, and so I can get away with a little bit lower pressure than, say, somebody that's, you know, well over 200 pounds. So then if you're super light, some women out there or some guys that are pushing 150 or less, you probably could get away with literally like 3 psi or whatever. So really the pressure is based on, you know, weight, snow conditions, things like that. As the trails get really packed, then you could probably get away with 8 psi or something like that. But now I'm kind of babbling like I usually do, but I'm just trying to provide you with as much information as I know off the top of my head. But cool, this was fun. I'm gonna go play around in my yard for a little bit. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe.